we had Michelle Bachmann on, who is a friend of the program and remains a friend of mine, and is a patriot, I believe, and has fought the good fight. In fact, fought the good fight so much so, her family has been damaged. Her reputation is irreparable. It's just been destroyed by the machinery of the GOP and the progressive GOP, I should say. However, I think she's misguided on this NSA thing, and I know that I don't mean to single her out because she was in the majority. There are a lot of people that we agree with, and I think are smarter than this, are going along with the NSA, and they're calling Snowden a traitor. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Snowden. I don't think Snowden, did all the right things. I think what he did at the beginning of warning us about a system that is out of control is a patriotic act. Now what do you do? Is he a patriot? I don't know. That was a patriotic act, I believe, but many say he's a traitor. Well, Michelle was on yesterday, and she was making claims that there's no evidence that any of this stuff is happening, that they are not collecting. Well, if they're not collecting, then why do we have the NSA collection facility?
It's just for foreigners.
That's the biggest bullcrap I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And Michelle asked us to believe yesterday, the head of the NSA, which, why would I believe them? Well, they have been known, the FBI, the Justice Department, the NSA, the CIA, they've all lied to us. The president has lied to us. Everyone has lied to us on this. And we have caught them. And here's what happens. Michelle comes on and she says, yeah, but this specific thing, they haven't lied to us on. Well, that's... Okay, yeah, my wife hasn't said that I look fat in these pants, but,
Doesn't change the fact that you're fat, does it? You're still fat, regardless of whether she has said that in those specific pair of pants.
I don't think we need to harp on this.
No, I'm just trying to accentuate your point. I understand. You're saying you're fat. And whether or not she said in these specific jeans you're fat isn't really the point. The point is that you are, in fact, fat.
Yeah,
the point is...
Glenn, it's all right. Pat, the point you bring up, though, is brilliant. Can you just say it one more time? Because I don't think I understood
Well, he's
it fully.
fat.
Oh, okay, all right.
And regardless,
let's get to
it doesn't matter what's
on the... Diane Roark is a woman who has been on the program before. She is truly a patriot. There is... Diane, how many of the whistleblowers is 4 or 5 of you guys?
5.
There's 5 of you. And your position used to be what?
I was on the professional staff of the House Intelligence Committee for 17 years.
Okay, so you worked for people that were on the Intelligence Committee like Michelle Bachmann. I mean, you didn't work for Michelle Bachmann, right? But you...
That's correct. She was not on the committee when I left, but yes, I worked for the members.
Okay, and so you...
The Republican members, actually. I was on the majority staff.
And you saw this stuff coming, and you saw it happen, and you saw it from the same kind of vantage point that Michelle Bachmann would see it from.
Actually, yes. The staff usually knows things in more detail because they have more time to research it. In fact, that's their job, to find the issues and present them to the members.
Okay, so I asked you yesterday if you would listen to the interview and tell me if I was wrong, or if she had information, and I know you don't have any current information, but if you could explain to me how I was seeing it and I was misguided, or how she was seeing it and she was misguided.
Yes, her main point was that all of the speculation about government collection of the contents of both emails and phone calls was incorrect, and that she had tracked this down mainly by going to General Keith Alexander, the head of NSA, and asking him about it, and he had denied that the contents were collected. She acknowledged the collection of metadata, but that didn't seem to bother her.
Could you explain metadata?
Metadata is the externals, what they call the externals of the message, either phone or email. It used to be called externals in NSA, and NSA has a very long history of collecting signal externals. This was mainly when signals were going through the air that they started this, when they were collecting like microwave telephone conversations. And so often those were encrypted, and increasingly they have been encrypted. So to the point that they could not be broken often. And therefore, the only data that NSA had to deal with often was the physical characteristics of the signal, the time when it was collected, how long it was, that sort of thing.
First time
they did not have access to the conversation itself. And so they became expert in deciphering what these signals meant and in finding intelligence report collection in it and reporting on it, and reporting useful intelligence, very useful intelligence.
Okay, so hang on. So hang on. So metadata, if I were calling Pat every night at home, they couldn't figure out what I was telling Pat, but they could figure out that Glenn called Stu every day, and then at a certain time he would call Pat. And then this action would happen after it, and so they could figure out that we did a radio show together, and we were most likely talking about the radio show.
That's correct, things like that. And if you were calling your doctor and what kind of doctor it was, they could figure out what kind of illness you probably had, that sort of thing. When we went to digital data, metadata, what they changed the term to metadata because when telephone companies and wire companies pass this along, they have all the header data, and so they have who it's to, who it's from, what time it went, what path it traversed. In the case of cell phones, it would be what location it was for billing purposes.
Okay, so
all that sort of thing. So you get a lot more external data on digital data than even you had on
the old style
going through the air.
Okay, so now she says that they're dumping all of that. They're using it and then they're dumping it, and they're not collecting any of that on the U.S. citizen, which I don't believe for a second. And
no, she admitted that they're collecting the metadata on U.S. citizens, but that didn't seem to bother her. She only alluded to it once. What she was mainly focused on was that they were not allegedly collecting the content of either emails or phone calls.
Do you believe that?
I believe there's plenty of evidence that they have collected some content, at least on phone calls, and on emails they collected content from the beginning, and there's quite a bit of evidence on that.
Okay.
Including my own personal experience.